What if I told you you've been living your entire life slightly blind? Not because you're not smart, not because you didn't try hard enough, but because no one ever showed you how the world really works. Give me the next 30 minutes, and you might never look at people, power, or even yourself the same way again. This is not about becoming more educated. This is about becoming aware. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Most people grow up with a quiet belief they never question, a belief that the world is naturally fair, that if you are honest, people will respect you. If you are kind, people will return that kindness. If you work hard, life will eventually reward you in equal measure. It sounds right. It feels right. It is what parents teach, what schools reinforce, what stories celebrate. And for a while, it seems to work until it doesn't. Ian used to believe that too. He wasn't naive in the obvious way. He knew people lied sometimes. He knew not everything was perfect. But deep down, he still thought there was an invisible balance keeping everything in check, that somehow things would align in the end. Then small things started happening. Not dramatic betrayals, not life-shattering moments, just quiet, uncomfortable realizations. A colleague taking credit for his work and smiling like nothing happened. A friend who only called when they needed something. Promises made easily, broken even more easily. At first, he brushed it off. That's just how people are sometimes, he told himself. But the pattern didn't stop, it grew. He began noticing how often people said one thing and meant another, how often actions didn't match words, how easily someone could appear sincere while hiding something completely different underneath. It wasn't just others either. It was everywhere. In conversations, in workplaces, in relationships. There was a layer beneath everything, something unspoken but always present. And the more he paid attention, the clearer it became that the world didn't operate on the simple rules he had always believed in. One evening, sitting alone, he replayed a moment in his mind. Someone he trusted had looked him in the eye, reassured him, and then quietly did the opposite. No guilt, no hesitation, just a smooth shift as if it meant nothing. That moment stayed with him, not because of the action itself, but because of how easily it happened. That's when the discomfort turned into curiosity. Not anger, not resentment, but a need to understand. Why do people do this? Why does the world feel so different from what we are taught? The answer didn't come all at once. It revealed itself slowly in pieces. People are not always driven by truth or fairness. They are driven by fear, desire, survival, status, insecurity. Sometimes they choose comfort over honesty because honesty is difficult. Sometimes they choose advantage over integrity because the opportunity is right there. It doesn't always come from a place of evil. Often it comes from weakness, from pressure, from wanting to win, to belong, to avoid loss. And that realization changes something inside you. Because once you see it, you can't go back to the simpler version of reality. You start noticing things you ignored before. The hesitation in someone's voice. The way a compliment feels slightly forced. The subtle shift in behavior when circumstances change. It's not about becoming suspicious of everyone. It's about understanding that not everything is as it appears on the surface. Ian began to reflect on his own expectations. He realized that part of his frustration came from expecting everyone to operate on the same values he held. He assumed honesty would be met with honesty, loyalty with loyalty. But the world doesn't guarantee that kind of symmetry. People act based on their own priorities, not yours. Their decisions are shaped by their experiences, their fears, their goals, and those don't always align with yours. This doesn't mean the world is entirely dark or that goodness doesn't exist. It does. There are honest people, sincere relationships, moments of real trust, but they exist alongside something else. A more complex reality where not everyone plays by the same rules, where appearances can be crafted, where intentions can be hidden, where words can be used as tools rather than truths. The danger isn't in this reality itself. The danger is in being unaware of it. Because when you believe the world is something it's not, you move through it unprotected. You trust too quickly. You ignore warning signs. You give more than you should without understanding the situation fully. And when things go wrong, it feels confusing, even unfair, because it doesn't match the version of the world you believed in. Awareness changes that, not by making you cold, but by making you observant. You start asking quiet questions, not out loud, but within yourself. Does this action match their words? Is this consistency or convenience? Is this person showing who they are or who they want me to believe they are? These questions don't turn you into someone negative. They turn you into someone grounded in reality. Ian noticed something else as he grew more aware. The world didn't change. People didn't suddenly become more honest or less complicated. What changed was his ability to navigate it. He stopped reacting purely on emotion. He paused more, observed more. He still chose kindness, but it became intentional, not automatic. He still trusted, but it became earned, not assumed. There's a quiet strength in that shift, because you're no longer depending on the world to match your expectations. You're adjusting your understanding to match the world, and that gives you a kind of stability that doesn't break easily. You're not shocked every time someone acts out of self-interest. You're not deeply hurt by things you've learned to recognize early. You're steady. And yet, there's an important line that must not be crossed. Seeing the world clearly does not mean losing your principles. It does not mean becoming manipulative just because manipulation exists. It does not mean abandoning honesty because others sometimes ignore it. Awareness is not an excuse to lower your values. It is a tool to protect them. Because once you understand how easily people can drift toward convenience over integrity, you become more conscious of your own choices. You start asking yourself harder questions. Am I being honest even when it's uncomfortable? Am I staying true to my values even when no one is watching? Am I reacting out of impulse or responding with intention? That's where real clarity begins, not just in how you see others, but in how you see yourself. The world is not what you were told it would be. It is more complex, more unpredictable, sometimes more unfair. But it is also more revealing. It shows you the difference between illusion and truth, between appearance and reality. And if you are willing to see it for what it is, not what you wish it to be, you gain something far more valuable than simple comfort. You gain understanding. Ian always believed that having a good heart was enough. Not in a naive, childish way, but in a quiet, confident way. He believed that if he treated people with respect, stayed honest in his dealings, and showed up with sincerity, things would naturally fall into place. It wasn't something he said out loud often, but it guided how he moved through life. He listened when others spoke, helped when he could, and avoided hurting anyone, even when he had the chance to take advantage. To him, that was strength. At first, it seemed like the right way to live. People appreciated him. They trusted him with responsibilities, leaned on him during difficult moments, and often described him as reliable. Those words mattered to him. They reinforced the belief that he was on the right path. But slowly, almost unnoticed at first, something began to feel off. The same people who relied on him didn't always show up when he needed them. The same honesty he offered wasn't always returned. The same respect he gave wasn't always reflected back. He started noticing patterns, small, repeating moments that didn't sit right, a promise made casually and broken just as casually, a favor asked urgently but never acknowledged afterward, conversations where he listened deeply, but when it was his turn, attention drifted away. None of these moments were dramatic enough to confront. Each one could be explained away. But together, they built a quiet weight that he couldn't ignore anymore. One afternoon, he stayed late at work to help a colleague finish an important task. It wasn't his responsibility, but he stepped in anyway. He told himself it was the right thing to do. The next day, during a meeting, that same colleague presented the work as their own. No mention of Ian, no acknowledgement, just a confident explanation as if everything had been done independently. Ian sat there, listening, feeling something shift inside him. Not anger, not even immediate frustration, just a deep realization that something wasn't adding up. On the way home, he kept replaying the moment. He asked himself a question he had never seriously considered before. If I'm doing the right thing, why does it feel like I'm the one losing? That question didn't come from bitterness. It came from confusion, because everything he had been taught suggested that good actions lead to good outcomes. But reality didn't seem to follow that formula. Over time, he began to understand something uncomfortable. Good intentions by themselves are invisible. People don't automatically see them, value them, or respect them. What people respond to is what benefits them, what affects them, what serves their interests in that moment. His willingness to help was seen as availability. His patience was seen as tolerance. His silence in uncomfortable situations was seen as acceptance. That's when the deeper realization began to take shape. Being good is not the same as being strong, and being kind without awareness can slowly turn into being taken for granted. Not because kindness is wrong, but because it needs direction. It needs boundaries. Without them, it becomes something others can easily use without thinking twice. Ian started reflecting on his own behavior. He realized that many of his actions were automatic. Someone asked for help, he said yes. Someone crossed a line, he stayed quiet to keep peace. Someone needed support, he gave it, even when it drained him. He wasn't making conscious decisions. He was following a pattern he believed was right. But that pattern didn't consider reality. It didn't consider how people actually behave when given the chance. He remembered a moment with a friend who often borrowed money. At first, it felt natural to help. The friend seemed sincere, always promising to return it soon. But the pattern repeated. The money wasn't returned and the requests kept coming. Ian never confronted him. He didn't want to seem harsh or distrustful, but deep down he knew what was happening. He just chose not to act on it. Not because he didn't understand, but because he didn't want to break the image of being the good person. That's when it clicked. Being good had quietly turned into avoiding discomfort, avoiding difficult conversations, avoiding saying no, avoiding standing up for himself when it mattered. And that wasn't strength. That was fear disguised as kindness. The shift didn't happen overnight. It started with small changes. The next time someone asked for something that didn't feel right, he paused instead of responding immediately. That pause felt uncomfortable at first, almost unnatural, but it gave him space to think, to ask himself, is this fair? Is this balanced? Am I helping, or am I just trying to avoid saying no? He began setting small boundaries, not aggressively, not with anger, but with clarity. When he couldn't help, he said it calmly. When something felt one-sided, he addressed it respectfully. When someone crossed a line, he didn't ignore it anymore. Each time he did this, something surprising happened. Some people adjusted their behavior. Others became distant, and that revealed something important. Not everyone values you for who you are. Some value you for what you allow. That realization was difficult to accept, but it was necessary, because it showed him that his worth wasn't defined by how much he gave, but by how well he understood what to give, when, and to whom. His kindness didn't have to disappear. It just needed to become intentional. He also realized that strength isn't loud or aggressive. It doesn't require becoming harsh or cold. It's quiet, steady, and clear. It's the ability to say no without guilt, to walk away without drama, to choose yourself without feeling selfish. It's knowing that protecting your energy, your time, and your values is not wrong. Ian didn't stop being kind. He didn't become suspicious of everyone or start assuming the worst, but he became aware. He began to see the difference between genuine need and convenient requests, between real appreciation and empty words, between mutual respect and one-sided expectations. That awareness changed how he experienced life. He felt less drained, less confused, less conflicted, because his actions were no longer based on blind intention. They were based on understanding, and that made every decision stronger. He started noticing something else too. The people who truly valued him didn't disappear when he set boundaries. They respected them. They understood. They didn't demand more than he could give. They didn't make him feel guilty for choosing himself when necessary. And that showed him what real connection looks like. In the end, the lesson wasn't about becoming less kind. It was about becoming more conscious. Because kindness without awareness can be misused, but kindness with awareness becomes something powerful, something balanced, something that benefits both you and others without leaving you empty. And that's when he finally understood that being a good person is not about giving endlessly. It's about giving wisely. At first, Ian didn't realize how much he was missing. He believed he was observant enough, careful enough, aware enough to handle whatever came his way. He paid attention to what people said, how they behaved on the surface, how situations appeared in the moment. But there was always something just beneath that surface, something subtle, something easy to ignore if you weren't really looking. And for a long time, he was. It started with small discomforts he couldn't explain, conversations that felt slightly off, even when the words sounded right, decisions people made that didn't match what they had previously promised, situations where he felt confused, not because he didn't understand what happened, but because it didn't align with what he expected. He would replay those moments later, trying to make sense of them, but always through the same lens, the belief that people generally meant what they said. That belief kept him from seeing clearly, not because it was entirely wrong, but because it was incomplete. One evening, he sat across from someone he trusted, listening to them explain why something couldn't be done. The explanation was calm, logical, and convincing. Ian nodded, accepting it without question. But later that week, he found out the same person had done exactly that for someone else. No explanation, no hesitation, just a different decision. That moment stayed with him, not because of what happened, but because of how easily he had accepted the first explanation without looking deeper. He began to realize that awareness isn't just about hearing words. It's about observing patterns. It's about noticing consistency or the lack of it. It's about understanding that what people say in one moment might not reflect what they will do in another, especially when circumstances change. This realization didn't make him angry. It made him curious. He started watching more closely, not in an obsessive or suspicious way, but with quiet attention. He noticed how people behaved when they had nothing to gain, and how that behavior shifted when something was at stake. He noticed how tone changed depending on who was in the room, how confidence appeared in some situations and disappeared in others, how quickly priorities could shift when convenience was involved. At first, it felt uncomfortable, almost like he was seeing something he wasn't supposed to see, because once you start noticing these patterns, you can't pretend they're not there, and that changes how you interpret everything. He remembered a moment at work where a team decision was being discussed. Everyone seemed to agree on a fair approach. It sounded reasonable, balanced, and well thought out. But as soon as the meeting ended, smaller conversations began. Quiet side discussions, subtle suggestions, private agreements. By the next day, the decision had shifted completely. Not openly, not directly, but through influence that happened outside the main conversation. That's when Ian understood something important. Not all decisions are made in the open. Not all intentions are expressed directly. And not all actions are as transparent as they appear. Awareness, he realized, is not about assuming the worst in people. It's about understanding that there is often more happening than what is immediately visible. This shift in perspective changed how he approached situations. Instead of reacting instantly, he paused. Instead of taking everything at face value, he looked for alignment. Do the words match the actions? Does the behavior remain consistent over time? Are the reasons given supported by what actually happens? These questions became quiet tools in his mind. They didn't make him distant or cold. They made him grounded. He also began to notice something about himself. How often he ignored his own instincts. There were moments in the past where something didn't feel right, but he dismissed it. He told himself he was overthinking, being too sensitive, or misunderstanding the situation. But in hindsight, those instincts were often accurate. He just didn't trust them enough to act on them. Awareness isn't just external, it's internal too. It's recognizing that your mind picks up on patterns even before you consciously understand them. It's learning to pause when something feels off instead of pushing that feeling aside. It's giving yourself permission to question without feeling guilty for it. One day, he found himself in a familiar situation. Someone made a promise, spoke with confidence, and assured him everything would be handled. In the past, he would have accepted it immediately. But this time, he noticed something small, a slight hesitation, a lack of detail, a pattern similar to what he had seen before. He didn't confront the person. He didn't accuse or react. He simply adjusted his expectations. He prepared for the possibility that things might not go as promised, and when they didn't, he wasn't surprised. He wasn't frustrated. He was ready. That's when he understood the real power of awareness. It protects you before the damage happens. It doesn't wait for things to go wrong so you can react. It allows you to see the direction things are heading and adjust accordingly. It gives you space to make better decisions, to set boundaries early, to avoid unnecessary disappointment. He also realized that awareness reduces emotional chaos. When you don't understand why things happen, every negative experience feels personal. Every disappointment feels like a betrayal. Every unexpected outcome feels unfair. But when you understand patterns, motivations, and behaviors, things become clearer. Not easier, but clearer. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this situation showing me?" That shift changes everything. Ian became more selective, not in a judgmental way, but in a thoughtful way. He paid attention to who he trusted, who he relied on, and how much he invested in different relationships. He didn't cut people off impulsively. He observed, understood, and then decided. He also became more aware of environments, how certain places encouraged honesty, while others rewarded appearance, how some situations brought out the best in people, while others revealed their insecurities. Awareness allowed him to navigate these spaces without losing himself in them. But there was something he remained careful about. He didn't let awareness turn into paranoia. He didn't assume everyone had bad intentions. He didn't close himself off or become emotionally distant, because awareness is not about building walls. It's about seeing clearly while staying balanced. He still believed in trust, but now it was built gradually. He still valued honesty, but now he looked for consistency. He still chose kindness, but now it was guided by understanding. And that balance gave him something he didn't have before: stability. He wasn't easily shaken by unexpected behavior. He wasn't deeply affected by things he had learned to recognize early. He moved through situations with a quiet confidence, not because he controlled everything around him, but because he understood it better. In the end, awareness didn't change the world. People were still complex. Situations were still unpredictable, but it changed how he experienced it. It removed the confusion, the constant questioning, the emotional weight of not understanding. Because once you truly see how things work beneath the surface, you stop being easy to control. This video is for awareness and personal growth only. It does not promote manipulation, deception, or unethical behavior in any form. The ideas discussed are meant to help you understand human behavior, protect yourself from harm, and make wiser decisions in life. No matter your background or beliefs, the goal is simple. Stay aware, stay principled, and use knowledge responsibly.